All right, thank you again, everyone, for joining today's episode of Hashtag Channel Juice Thursdays. This is the 9th episode, so time is flying by. And on this episode, we are going to be discussing how to get started with AI and accelerating business outcomes. In putting together this content, I worked very closely with Chris McCarthy, who's the regional channel compute specialist that a lot of you know. And then my technical counterpart, Rick Perkins, who's the channel pre-sales engineer for the territory. And what we did is we reached out to the local compute team, the account team that covers compute, Eric Leiter, for those of you that know Eric Leiter and his team. And we asked them the question, what's the #1 way that you guys are creating new conversations with your customers that are resulting in compute sales? And they unanimously agreed that it was AI, artificial intelligence. And the reason for this is because businesses right now are looking for an opportunity to transform the way that they're going to market, transform the way they're interacting with their customers in order to either increase current revenue streams or create new ones for their business. And so obviously being part of a revenue generation outcome, people are interested. And so we, and I'll let Chris here go into a little bit more, but then before we pass it over to our special speaker today, and that speaker is Alan Klingerman. So you guys may remember Alan. He's a friend of the Hashtag Channel Juice trainings. He was actually the presenter on the 2nd episode back on April 2nd when we discussed edge computing. And so a couple updates before I pass it over to Chris McCarthy is this episode, we teamed up with the Heroes team. And Rick Perkins was instrumental in helping make this happen. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to show our appreciation for you guys, the partners that are attending these trainings, and continuing to educate yourself on the Dell Technologies portfolio and go to market. And so by teaming up with the Heroes events team, we're able to offer a free gift for every single person, not just the first person to answer the bonus questions, but every single person that's on this training. After the training, I'll be sending out an email. It's going to have bonus questions for the Dell Technologies North Face backpack that you guys are usually familiar with, but it'll also have a link to a survey. And if you fill out that survey, you'll get to pick between a variety of different free gifts. I believe some of them include ear pods for conversations on the phone, water bottles, Nike Dry Fit hats, battery chargers, etc. So look for that email following the training here, and please fill out that survey, and you'll be able to then go ahead and select your free gift. So with that, thanks again for everyone attending. We're, as usual, you know, with these Channel Juice trainings, we're going to be efficient with your time, quick 30 minutes. Get right to the point, tell you what you need to know, the types of questions you got to ask your customers, how to develop opportunities. And then obviously we're here to engage further in deeper conversations as you see fit. So with that, I'll pass it over to Chris McCarthy to give a little bit more background before passing it over to Alan to finally present. So Chris, you got anything?
Oh yeah, just, I mean, everything you said was spot on, Buck. Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. So basically, you know, we've had a couple conversations associated to, you know, last month we did demystifying the programs associated to, you know, our server programs out there for partners. But during that presentation, we also talked a little bit about the idea of data-centric workloads and where Dell Technologies really focuses on in specific areas. AI is one of those areas that has the largest total addressable market associated to it. And really feel that more and more organizations, CIOs, and people associated to it are really looking at or talking about or thinking about doing things associated to AI, not only in the compute space, but the overall lines of business associated things, networking, storage, et cetera. So we thought that this would be a great opportunity to kind of go a little bit deeper into the methodologies and understanding what AI really is and how we approach it. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Alan, and he'll walk you through the journey of AI. So thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thanks, Buck. Thanks, Chris. That was a great opening. And it sounds like you had a great session last time talking about our programs that surround this, right, to help our partners make a fantastic amount of money sitting on all of our platforms. And I think this is kind of important to tee up with when you think about artificial intelligence, right? The reason why there's big investments that's happening here. And by the way, these investments happen way outside of IT. So like when I have these conversations with all of our leadership, right, and with all of our partners' leadership, it's about going and talking to the chief marketing officer, going and talking to the chief revenue officer, and understanding what their business initiatives are to drive new lines of revenue or profit for the company. And then that downstream puts pressure on the application development teams, the data analytics team, and ultimately, right, we trickle down further to the infrastructure teams that have to support the design and architecture, right, for the platforms that support the advanced analytics and AI to drive those outcomes. And that's what I just wanted to take you a little bit of time to walk you through that journey, what it looks like. This is very high level. As you know, we're trying to be very efficient with your time. There's lots of different directions we could go with this topic in the future, but let's just kind of get going with that. So, you know, really the first question when you think about artificial intelligence, the first thing you should think about, right, is it's all about advanced analytics and doing two things. The first thing is when you think about just regular descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, as they call it, those two things predict, two things, actually I should say predict. They show you what happened yesterday and why. And that's the reports that we all live with, right? And sales, whether we're a sales engineer or somebody on the sales team, we all know what that looks like in those executive reports coming on. What did I sell yesterday? What did I sell so far in the quarter? What do I have left to track? And then you get a little bit better with a diagnostic output of like, why did that happen? But everybody wants to model to the point of saying, how do I start predicting the future? If I make these changes to my pipeline or to my sales team or these interactions with my customers, what would happen? And then you start applying like logic sitting behind those predictions to go take action, right? That's where you get to true cognitive analytics that everybody wants to get to in artificial intelligence. But the important thing to take away from this, it's a journey for the customer. And by the way, for all of us on the phone, it's all lined with money, right? Why are we all here? At the end of the day, it's helping the customer achieve a successful outcome and making some money and having some fun along the way. And honestly, having these business conversations are very energizing, right? It's sometimes even more exciting than the technology sitting around it and really helping, you know, drive something new for the industry or vertical to push things forward for the world. I put these up here as this kind of humor sitting around the topic of artificial intelligence, but, you know, hopefully we don't have quite the dystopian future, right, depicted in either one of these movies. Of what's going to happen with artificial intelligence, but it does show, like when we start thinking cognition, we start thinking cognitive artificial intelligence, right? And you start thinking about where things might trend in the future, right? These are a very dystopian view of it, but think about the outcomes of what it can do to help humanity, right? Not just working against us, as I've been there. So when you think about those two movies, let's talk about the positive side of what artificial intelligence is already starting to do for our world. You know, think about things like safer transportation, whether, as you can see in this picture, right, whether it's people crossing a bridge and automobiles and larger vehicles or boats going underneath the bridge, you can imagine what could happen over time as you have autonomous driving and all the devices are autonomous and can react as a collective group. You know, how much safer transportation can be. It's just amazing to see where things are trending in that one category. Or when you think, not what I would think the most technologically advanced industry, right? But think about agriculture. Actually, agriculture has gotten huge technology advances in the artificial intelligence space, specifically of what are they doing for better crop rotation and to improve crop yields, right? To feed more people, right, with the same amount of land that they have. So it's really done amazing things for the farmers and for the agricultural field. And then finally, when we think about this third category, just think about smarter cities, right? Being able to enable lots of different outcomes based on something as simple as a video feed. And we'll show you some of those things and ideas of what's already happening, right? Whether whether we might be on one side of the or the other, the outcomes are amazing of what you could do for society overall. And by the way, back to the money side, right? Businesses are investing in artificial intelligence. This is back to why we're talking about this topic and why it's very relevant across the country today and certainly across the world. It's people are making investments. And I said it's not just the CIOs, right, which is what we see here. It's a downstream effect because what's happening? The CEO, the CRO, and the CMO wants to go do something different and leverage technology as a competitive differentiator. And they're going to leverage AI to do that. And they're going to make that investment. And they're handing it to the CIO, right, to help them do that, along with the app dev, the BI teams, the analytics team, and the data science team. So significant investments, as you can see, trending in a space over the next 3 years. And by the way, this is a not just net new line of business. So think about this as a growth. It's not just taking existing IT and repurposing it. This is net new revenue streams that are coming in artificial intelligence, right, via artificial intelligence that we all want to take advantage of. And something that you attended my first session, or you might have seen this in other areas throughout Dell Technologies, on something that we have dubbed the data-centric workloads. When you think about this context, right, we all know that traditional common off-the-shelf applications that don't provide any business differentiation, let's just call it out. You need ML and collaboration, but it's no longer a competitive differentiator, no matter what industry I'm in. So we take that and put it as a SaaS-based framework as O365. Oh, but by the way, that used to drive on-premise infrastructure, and it's not anymore, right? So we know these things are in decline. If you look at the compound annual growth rates projected from IDC through 2024, you're seeing that servers have a compound annual growth rate of 5.3%, and storage at 1.3%. So if you go, hey, these workloads, right, that drive on-premise infrastructure in decline, why are we seeing still this massive growth that's happening in, you know, this $1 trillion plus industry? It's all in these 4 buckets, and why we want to make these investments, because we know this is where companies are either already spending or are going to spend their IT and non-IT budgets. And when you think about this context, I pull those out in all of the areas we talk about. And really what we're focused on today, right, is data analytics and artificial intelligence, which is primarily underpinned by a high performance compute architecture. So one of the things that's really driving us, right, is the emergence of unstructured data and being able to uncouple the value of that and leveraging it as a competitive differentiator in my specific industry or vertical. So whether that's application data that I want to harvest, so think about all of the different mobile applications that are on your phone today that you've given some rights to use. In order to get access to that free application, you gave up rights to the telemetry data, right? All the data that surrounds that application. All that application data, I want to harvest, right, to do a CI/CD type development process to improve new or put new service offerings in front of my customers, leveraging my application as a framework to deliver it. And then when you think about all of the things that we deliver, right, just from a raw IT infrastructure perspective, how do I uncouple not just the structured data sets that live in business applications, but the unstructured data sets that live on all of our file servers and other storage devices that sit out there? And then when you think about telemetry data, right, the Internet of Things, I'll just call that one you can see here, just a automobile. Think of the auto industry as a whole. In my car, for example, I have a Dodge Charger. In that Dodge Charger, I have 128 IoT sensors collecting data, which does what? It actually collects it, sends it to an application, which is my mobile front end, which then allows Dodge, right, to monitor the performance of the vehicle, and then send me coupons when it's time to come in, right before it's time to come in. I'm overdue for my oil change. So you can think about, how do I use this data, again, to drive business, right, in a more interactive fashion? And then how do I use customer generated data that may not be in my data center? So think about things like being able to use social media data, right, to get a customer sentiment. How do customers feel about my brand? What's happening? Why are they feeling that way? this is kind of the whole area of this unstructured data. How do I capture this, create some, and collate information between all of this data to harvest and be able to provide some type of prescriptive and cognitive analytics. And you can see this is the journey for the slide, for the customer, right, to get to AI. So they start in the lower left-hand side of where everybody's at, right, what happened yesterday. They move up and almost everybody's in a space of diagnostic analytics of what happened yesterday and why. Where most people are struggling is to get to predictive analytics, let alone prescriptive analytics where I take automated action based on what I'm predicting, or cognitive analytics to pull all that together, right, and completely automate the process. But there's a number of technologies that you will see on here, like the ability to go create a data lake, right, kind of the Swiss Army knife of data management, and throwing a data lake in here to be able to harvest all that structured and unstructured data, right, without increasing the cost sitting in my traditional electronic data warehouse. And this is kind of just a view of what does that look like. And here's the reason I put that up here. This kind of blows out what you just saw in that curve slide to kind of show what does this look like for a customer's journey, right? They need to build big data and a data pipeline from a number of internal and external data sources. They need to extract, transform, and load that information in a common format, and then put it in a couple of different areas, right? Traditionally, an electronic data warehouse, housing all of their business application data, a data lake for all of the unstructured and structured archive information to take things out of the data warehouse to keep it optimized for performance for those business applications, and putting it in a common structure in an MDM. And then I need to do what? Extract, load, and transform, and pull it back out into data marts so that business analytics and artificial intelligence engines can go do something with that data. And this is layered with all of our technologies, and we can help you and your customer in that journey. So once you've built that foundation, right, it is about training the model and thinking about the 5 fundamental tasks of artificial intelligence. It kind of breaks down into these areas. The first one is in what they refer to as segmentation, breaking something down into simpler models. And think about it, for example, I'll give you a good example of this. Take a picture, and I have a number of pictures of different types of birds, and I would like to train the model to be able to identify a canary. So now I'm doing object detection, right, to detect that it's a bird first and foremost, and then classification to say, yes, it's a canary, put it into this bucket. So training the model for it to do that, because just that one simple step, I can do a lot of things now that I've been able to detect a specific object and I've classified it, right? So for example, think about safety and security. Okay, I've trained it on models of weapons to identify weapons as somebody carrying around a weapon, coming from video surveillance feeds from around the city in the smart city example. Now I can detect that object and send somebody to go take action against what's about to occur out there. The second one is recognition, right? Truly being able to recognize, not just in pictures, but in the example I just gave there, in video format and other modalities. How about anomaly detection? So we'll give that example of the IoT sensors. And in those 120 plus sensors that sit in my vehicle, it gives a predictive failure analysis to say, hey, cylinder 3 is having some problems. It sends it back to the back end of Dodge, and they can say, hey, we've detected an anomaly, please come bring your vehicle in, right? So anomaly detection is another big area that you can think of across all industries and verticals. Another key one that everybody is chasing, and actually the platform we're on today utilizes technology, is natural language processing. So while we're sitting here recording, some of you have not used the Zoom on the other side of the screen, you can actually have it, actually take a transcript of this call. So it's taking, right, speech to text the entire time. It's amazing how accurate it is. So NLP is a big, big category. And then the final one is recommendation. And I'll give you the simplest example of this. Probably, especially in this challenging time we're living in, you're probably enjoying some Netflix or other type of offerings like that. And you like a certain type of show. And then that recommendation engine using artificial intelligence based on you liking that show it's using big data to make other recommended shows that you might like, right, in that same category. So recommendation, 5 key fundamental tasks of artificial intelligence that customers are using this technology for. And I said the biggest one that everybody's looking at is in what they call IVA, or intelligent video analytics. And I gave that example of smart cities. Almost everybody has, some type of camera array sitting out in the around the building or around the city now. And you can see in this, for example, they had put in cameras across the smart city, across every stoplight. And in this case, this is actually New York City. And some of you that might know the city or have been there, you might know they have the ability to give you a speeding ticket, for example, send it to you in the mail. Not necessarily a big fan of that, but I get the idea, right, for safety and security purposes. You can see here, right in the middle of the screen, they identified there's a speeding vehicle. So these boxes, right, this is some of those technologies we just talked about. It detected there's vehicles, and then, hey, it's an object, I detected it's a vehicle, and then it goes out and tracks its speed, and then provides that back for somebody to then go take action on. In this case, fully cognitive, because it's going, okay, and by the way, here's the license tag of that vehicle because I took it from the other side of the quadrant, right, from the other camera. Here's the tag, send them, a ticket. So again, you can think of just lots of different applications for video, just this one category, right, of AI called IVA. So when you think about what do we need to succeed with AI, and I kind of already built this out for you. The first one is you need lots of what I refer to as AI fuel, right? Massive amounts of structured and unstructured data. And then we need the AI drivers. These are the algorithms, models, and expertise to go drive this. And those can come from a variety of different places, right? Some common off-the-shelf software applications leveraging AI, others where data scientists are out within an organization building it themselves for competitive differentiation. And then ultimately, the 2 areas you can see, why do we care? Because it's all about supercharged compute and storage, right? Let's go sell lots of stuff to feed this artificial intelligence engine. To put this into context, I wanted to give you another example of IVA and some of the things that we're doing at Dell Technologies to make this real, even where a customer may not have a data scientist. So we have a whole team focused on safety and security worldwide. And that team saw through this challenging time, what can we do leveraging technology and artificial intelligence to safely open up our world, right, as through all the times we're living in. So this is just leveraging thermal camera technology, right, at the top of a cart. This is an example you can see there. That's actually a cart. That's a product we sell, by the way. You can see that in that entry-level cart, we have, kind of traditional Dell workstation, precision workstation with GPUs in it. With a UPS, right? So I can roll this thing around to the entry point to my store. Maybe I'm a small retailer and I want to put it by the store. And then it comes up and it has a touch screen. It shows thermal indicators. So what it's doing, it's capturing information from that person coming in using the thermal cameras. And I go, hey, they're indicating they probably have a temperature. While it's not an FDA medical grade device, it still gives me a pretty good accurate picture of what's going on. They're accurate within 0.1 degrees Celsius. So very, very accurate on-the-fly temperature checking, right? To be able to then maybe pull somebody aside and, check their temperature, for example. We're working with a number of industries and verticals with these technologies today. And then you layer on the artificial intelligence, right? Not as it just being able to go take action and pull that person aside, but think about social distancing, right? Being able to see if they're 6 feet apart. Mask verification. Are they wearing a mask where it's required to be? And then how about the assistance of contact tracking, right, and tracing? Because now instead of having people call, I can actually use video intelligence and see who that person interacted with, throughout a period of time. So just one way we're leveraging to pull together a bundle, right, leveraging artificial intelligence technology. And this journey doesn't start in the data center. So I just wanted to paint this picture of why Dell Technologies is important in the whole journey. It starts typically with a data scientist, right? If you're not using an off-the-shelf app like the one I just gave you, it starts with a data scientist proving out algorithms, setting on a precision workstation, right? Or potentially another workstation, but I hope they're using a Dell Precision. But you can see, like, training that model with accelerated GPUs to do something. Then once they proved out that algorithm and said, okay, I think we have something, let's go out and train the model further with a larger data set, right? And that's where they would come in and purchase their first server. Then once they go, hey, we've got it, it's proven, we've increased the model, now I'm ready to take it to inference, right? To roll it into production. That's when the big cluster we all want to go sell is, right? So think about it of hundreds of servers and certainly ultimately large Isilon F800 arrays to support the full inference model that would be required for some type of artificial intelligence. And when you think about that journey, right, when you think about what are we positioning, it's fairly simple. From a PowerEdge perspective, right, we do have two platforms purpose-built for machine learning and deep learning. Hopefully you all know the C4140. It's a 1U platform with up to 4 GPUs or FPGAs. And our larger platform for higher end machine learning in the DSS8440 with up to 10 NVIDIA V100 accelerator cards or 16 now Tesla T4. So huge footprint, right, to really help a customer get going. And then, by the way, I also need to have this large storage array. We said I need high speed performance, right, to train a model. I need all that data. Where's that data going to live? From our portfolio perspective, it's going to live on PowerScale, right, or an Isilon platform. And while we have those two very specific platforms designed for AI, just keep in mind, GPU acceleration has really helped this category significantly, right? Data scientists are expensive. It's an expensive resource. And I don't have to have them twiddling their thumbs while I'm proving out the theory or training the model. So what we've tried to do is make sure that we have server acceleration across the entire PowerEdge portfolio. So they might start with something as simple as for example, an R740 is our most popular GPU accelerated server for AI. They can start there and then move up to those other models. So just keep in mind, it's not just a play on those two platforms. We have a whole offering to help go to market there. And one of the last things I'll leave you with that's pretty interesting, and you might have seen the white paper that we published on it, is when you think about GPUs, right? We said we want to keep data scientists fed, right? And they're an expensive asset. Well, so is a GPU. GPU is an expensive device, right? It's a $16,000 to $20,000 card in many cases. And it's not being used, but over a small period of time. Well, as I start building out my data science platform within an organization, wouldn't it be great, just like we did with compute, what if I virtualize the resource? So now we have, with our partner, right, with VMware, using another Dell technology partner, we now have the ability through the acquisition of Bitfusion to do the same thing that we've done for virtualization at the compute layer, to do that at GPU. And we have a whole reference architecture to help show you what that looks like. Super exciting times. It's more for an advanced customer that has lots of data scientists that are trying to extract the most value from these expensive assets, but great technology that we just finalized and brought to market. The last thing I'll leave you with is, not only are we doing all the amazing things on the platforms, we do have a number of full ready architectures ready to go now. So there are, as you would imagine, this category is getting lots of venture capital money coming in. Everybody's trying to make big investments to solve these problems for business because they see the business opportunity. These are just a few of the ones that we're going to market with, and we have full ready architectures around. So if you hear these terms of data robot or H2O or grid dynamics or domino, number one, happy ears, we got an opportunity. Second thing is, if you don't know what to do, pick up the phone and help us. And by the way, we'll make sure that you realize where you go to get that information. And by the way, I think I mentioned this last time, I don't have a slide on it, but infohub.delltechnologies.com. I'll put it in the chat to everybody. That's the place where we have all of our information and all of our workloads and all of these white papers, documentation, everything we discussed is available for you and your customer. With that, Buck, I think I'm about out of time, but I really wanted to appreciate giving me the opportunity to talk to the team today.
Phenomenal job, Alan. I actually took a few things away that I learned myself. And even this is in addition to the prep that we did in preparation for this. So something that jumped out to me, everyone just quick recap some of the things that I took away is 64% of CIOs investing in AI in the next 3 years. Definitely, that's like, we all want to be having conversations with CIOs. So if that's what they care about and that's what they're looking to invest their company's precious dollars, I think that's important. And I like the fact that the slide that you had on the growing market of data analytics and AI, where you say $240 billion in servers and storage, business applications coming in second at $215 billion, and software-defined hybrid clouds, $114 billion, and high-performance compute at $30 billion. Just goes to really show like what we're trying to do with these trainings and in our go-to-market at Dell Technologies is let's go talk about what the customers care about. And they don't care about the speeds and feeds of the product necessarily. They want to go figure out how to go solve problems associated with these challenges and implementing these types of go-to-markets. And then that ends up resulting in servers and storage sales and other infrastructures that Dell Technologies Solutions sells. So appreciate some of that stuff. And another thing too, NVIDIA, what we're doing with NVIDIA and the GPU and how that's enabling this, I think is important. And then also the Bitfusion acquisition and VMware is all absolutely great things. So Alan, I thought you did a great, high level overview. Chris McCarthy and I are here to, if you guys see this as a go-to-market for your partner organization and wanted to come up with a joint campaign that we can go together and interact with customers on, we're here to do that, as well as if we want to do joint like multi-customer events where we're doing some sort of like WebEx coupled with giveaways and things of that nature that's customer facing as well. Anything to create demand right now, I think is a good thing, especially in the COVID environment that we're all experiencing. So that's all I had. Thank you again, Alan, Chris. Unless you have anything, I think this is a wrap. I know we're a little over. And if people have questions, let's see, I'm going to check the chat real quick. It's like there's no questions in the chat. So Chris, unless you have anything, I think we'll call it a wrap.
I thought it was an excellent presentation. Alan, thank you as always. And everybody, as Buck mentioned, if there's any follow-up that you'd like to do from an individual partner perspective, please feel to reach out to either one of us and we can move the conversation forward. So again, thanks for your time and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks all.